Let's see what we're going to get on the history. Frederick's first description does not indicate a presence of any psychic disorder. On the contrary, he claims that all the cerebral functions remain intact. Ooh, I didn't know I had this thing on. My ball. There you go. Hello. The problem with mental disorders... Wait. The cerebral function remains intact. Okay, yeah. The problem with mental disorders is... Oh my gosh. Spinocerebellar. I'm going to look this word up. Because I know I looked it up before, but I forgot how... I bet it won't let me even sound it out. It says it's spino, S-P-I-N-O, and it looks like cerebellar, which is C-E-R-E-B-E-L-L-A-R. That could be my dyslexia, not like pronouncing it correctly.
That sounds right. That sounds right, but I don't know. I can't see it, but it sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe the ataxia thing. I hate this because they don't pronunciation. That would help. Here we go.
Spinocerebellar.
Spinocerebellar. I got it close. I said cerebellar. Spinocerebellar, which is a group of rare progressive genetic brain disorders that cause poor coordination, balance issues, and slurred speech. Okay, cool. Oh my gosh, and then have another one. Heterodegeneration. Oh my gosh. It's another word, everybody. Look at me. Look at me starting off well. Heredod. Oh, there it is. Heterodegenerative. I don't know. Let me look at. Hold on. Okay, sorry, everybody. Come on. Let me at least say it. No. Meaning, hold on, see if it has a little thing where it will let me say it. Of course not. Bastards. So this is an inherited disorder characterized by the progressive deterioration and dysfunction of bodily systems, most commonly the nervous system. And it's H-E-R, here I'm going to put it, I don't know who's in there. Well, we could try one refugee, but I don't know if we'll have anything. I'll put it in the comments real quick if I can. Here, I'll do this.
Yeah. I'm inviting Lynn up, because I bet you Lynn knows how to say it.
Well, if Lynn doesn't want to come up, it's fine too. We can't make people do something they don't want to do.
But they're invited, because they've got these medical words on point.
There it is. Here, it looks like Dodge to me because of the D-O-D. Heterodegeneration, something like that. Who's up there?
Hold on, it's herdodegeneration.
Heterodegeneration? Okay.
Yes.
Was first studied in the subsequent dissertation. Before reporting the author's conclusion, the historical reminder seems essential. In 1879, oh my gosh, C. Linger Miller, this is a person's name, became the first person to speak in parallel to motor ataxia, A-T-A-X-I-A, of an ataxia in the unfolding of thoughts. In 1884, what?
As Lynn said just a second before that, it's the cause of many types of ataxia.
Yeah. In 1884, 2 years from Brossy, I can't say these French words. I'm sorry, everybody. Legitimated the name Frederick's illness. In his dissertation, Messos published a study of 6 cases and noted some psychic disturbances in them. Longut and then Soko, in his first dissertation, argued the contrary point of view in 1884 and 1888, respectively. For these authors, no intellectual deficit, no mental disturbance was notable. And it's a huge French thing. So I think it's, I can't say it. Gilles de la Tourette, Bloquet, and Hute likened Frenchie's illness to multiply. Oh my gosh, I have to look up this word too. I don't like it. I get into a thing and then it all messes me up with these words. I gotta get better at fucking pronouncing shit. I just can't do it. Sclerosis. I think it's sclerosis. Let me make sure. Of course, it won't let me say it. God damn, dude. Webster Dictionary. There we go.
Sclerosis.
I was right, sclerosis. In terms of psychic integrity. According to them, it involves new impairment to the intelligence. Motor disorders alone explain the fatigue, slowness, and ideation, and of the verbal expression that it involves. In 1890, Asher cited a case of late onset Friedreich's ataxia with mental degradation in a prostitute. And a prostitute. Okay, in his 1891 work on it's a French word, the cerebellum and its functions. That's what it means. Cormont observed sadness, apathy, indifference, and a perturbation. Perturbation? Is it perturbation? What the fuck kind of word is this? Oh my god. This is annoying.
Perturbation?
I don't know. Perturbe.
Well, that's definitely perturb.
Perturbation.
Perturbation. The act of, oh my gosh, I hate when I do this, perturbing. The state of being perturbed. Why can't you just say perturbed? Why do you have to say perturbation? Jesus Christ. Academic books. Okay. Of moral senses, which is, okay, we already did that. Indeed, it has been noted that neurologists have long considered the cerebellum to be the set of psychic and moral equilibrium. In the same year, Nani, N-O-N-N-E, indicated among patients with Pierre Marie illnesses that the occurrence of carelessness, stupor, or gullibility, as did Singer Brown in 1892. In 1893, Pierre Marie wrote the following about Friedreich's ataxia in another probably French journal. And this is what they wrote. The intelligence is far from being as affected as it might seem at first view. When these patients are carefully interrogated, it could be seen that they are perfectly able to carry out a particular instructions and that their replies attested to the fairly age-appropriate degree of reasoning. It could nonetheless not be claimed that the development that their psychic faculties was totally normal, and in this regard, the difference with normal individuals increased the older they became. The upshot of this view is clear. Oh my gosh, another word I have to look up. D-E. I get all like, yeah, no, shut up, Andrew. And this one won't let me say it. It says like degeneracy. Degenerate sense.
Okay.
I'm spelling it correctly. It just won't show up. It's a noun, that's all it says. And it says the process of becoming degenerate. Degenerate. The process of becoming degenerate. They use some like words. Hey, pizza. That bears the particular neurological sectors does not impair the intellectual faculties as especially. That's weird. The claim is that disturbances of judgment and affective aberration appear slowly. Pierre Marie considers that what occurs is the arrest of one's mental developments rather than some variable deviation of psychic faculties. In 1894, Bouchard related the case of a brother and a sister, both of whom were affected with Friedreich's ataxia, in which the intellectual weakening first eventually led to dementia. In 1895, Nolan cites the case of three sisters in whom Friedreich ataxia involved with congenital idiocy, and in his atomical, clinical, and psychological studies of the cerebellum, Andre Thomas stated that he often encountered mental disturbances coupled with cerebellar syndromes. This notwithstanding, he added, the intelligence is usually maintained. The character is sad, attention levels are hardly sustained, and there is a certain degree of intellectual anesthesia. Amnesia. As there is of physical. Oh my gosh, I gotta look at this word too. Make sure I'm saying this one right.
Okay, I think the first one, the amnesia, did you mean to say amnesia?
Like I said, I'm looking it up, making sure.
Okay.
Asthenia. It's asthenia. Symptoms of asthenia, a lack or loss of strength. Asthenia, and there is of physical asthenia. When in 1893, Raymond identified no cognitive impairment and goes so far as to state that his clinic deaths, and all in French, that the integrity of the psychic faculties was normal. In 1900, Jules Vincelet, those whose dissertation bore on a pathological anatomy of Friedreich ataxia, related a case associated with delusion and of persecution. In 1902, Gilbert Ballads published his, and it's another French journal thing, in which he claims that among the individuals suffering from Friedreich ataxia, the intelligence, which is defective from the outset, often continues to weaken further. In 1904, Pritchett cites a case of two sisters who suffered from Friedreich ataxia and idiocy with symptoms of dementia. In 1906, Pelziza described a case of familial spastic paraplegia that was linked with dementia precox. Oh my God, another word. This is so much fun. Every like 5 words I have to look it up. These are all medical terms. It doesn't even say anything. Huh.
Dementia precox.
Dementia precox. Okay, it's like schizophrenia. In 1909, Flatu, and then in 1912, Volk, and oh my gosh, these guys have such weird names. Astawazaturo, all published cases of either Friedreich ataxia or Pierre Marie's illness, complained by idiocy and imbecility.
Can you stop? Yeah, let's stop using all those slurs. Idiocy would be, yes it is. It would be like,
sure.
You would go with not educated.
Sure.
The other word is, I believe they're physically handicapped as well as mentally handicapped, if I remember correctly.
All right, let me look at another word.
Imbecility.
Okay. I was going to make sure. In 1913, Frankel and Died reported 3 cases involving progressive dementia. In 1919, Sequet's dissertation took stock of the question and added to the number of hitherto published cases the following: a case of cerebellar heterodoxia involving profound mental debility and instructive perversions. Another of Frederick ataxia was mentally mental debility and motor debility. Am I saying that right? Debility? I don't know if I'm saying that one right.
Yeah, it means disabled. It's debility.
I'm gonna make sure that I'm saying it right.
Debility.
I was saying it right. Cool. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to double check. The one of cerebellar heterodoxia with hallucinatory psychosis. A year later, in 1920, Benon and Lorat published a case of cerebellar heterodoxia with delirium in the Gazette in 1921. Oh my gosh, we're just going through all these people. Emmanuel Bergaman emphasizes the association between heterodoxia and, oh my gosh, oligophrenia. God, dude. Ligophrenia. Oligophrenia, an intellectual disability. Similarly, in 1922, Lemesson and Nysian made an observation of mental debility. In 1923, De Veres cited 2 cases of cerebellar heterodoxia accompanied with unintelligence. In 1928, in his report to the Congress of the Alienist and Neurologists, Bogart studied the coexistence of mental disorders and cerebellar atrophies. The following year, he included in his description the variety of, oh my gosh, I have to look up another word. Olibopontine. Of course, spelled it wrong, probably. Try it again. Olivopopntine. They can't find it. The word you've entered isn't in the dictionary. Click the spelling suggested below, or try again using the search bar above. God, dude. Oh, so I don't know this word. Maybe I can, hold on. Let's copy. Let's try a different way.
It's probably a historic word that has a new name.
Okay, a group of neurodegenerative diseases. That's what it is. They want me to do a different word, like Olivopontine. So I don't know what to do. And they're like now I can't even find anything to pronunciate it with. It's fucking weird. Oh wait, no, it just wants me to do half of the word. Okay. Atrophies, including dementia disorders. Morareta had his dissertation Viva Voci in the course of the same year. The author makes 21 observations in which 3/5 are accompanied by mental disorders. In 1929, Hiller studied spoken language disorders and conceptual language disorders in Frederick's ataxia. He showed the internal relations that exist between these two modalities and verbal expressions. 5 years later, J.O. Trellis, in a much lauded paper, examined, oh my gosh, autonom. Okay, I gotta look at this word now. Where is it at? ANATOMOPATHOLOGICAL. And it just fucking like, oh my god, come on, dude, stop. I didn't say no space. I did not do any fucking space. It's a medical specialty that diagnoses diseases by examining organs, tissues, and cells. Autonomy pathological. Lesions and mental disorders in Friedreich ataxia. Later, we will have the occasion to return to his observation. The same year, oh my gosh, still, Gordia and Miss Daromambis presented a case in Rosie Levy's illness with mental disorders to another French journal. Again, in 1934, Paul Corbin and Louise Mars presented to another psychiatric journal in French the case of a patient who suffered from multiple phagedenic lesions. Okay, I gotta look at this word. It's like every other word. If I knew how to like pronounce things correctly, I'd be able to not have to do this every 5 seconds. And of course, it won't let me do it out loud.
Medical words are hard.
Tech is my job, but purpose is my style. That's when I discovered.
I don't care.
Phagedenic or phagedenic.
Phagedenic. Has anybody heard of phagedenic? A rapidly spreading necrotic and gangrenous skin ulcer. Lesions and mental disability was slowly, I'm about to, every 5 words, remember, was slowly sliding into dementia. The coexistence of Friedreich's ataxia seems to me to suggest that the mental disorders are related not to the phagedenizium. Gotta look at this word again. Told you, every 5 words. Okay, I think, hold on. It's the same word, it's just they put it isium. But instead of Friedreich's ataxia, and, oh my gosh, here we go again. In 1935, Homey presented his second case of Friedreich ataxia to another society that I cannot say because it's in French, in Lyon. First case was the topic of a paper, delivered in 1931. In both cases, the author adjudged the psyche to be intact. In 1936, claims in Agidi indicated the presence of effective liability in the case of Friedreich ataxia. The same thymic characteristics was discovered by Sterlis and Greyre in 1937. The same year, von Bogart and his collaborators reported for 4 cases of Friedreich ataxia with mental disorders. The author's conclusion states: 1, that Friedreich ataxia, with mental disorders, is not hereditary. 2, in the case of Friedreich ataxia with mental disorders, the neurological syndrome precedes the mental evolution by several years. And 3, the mental disorder is usually belated. And 4, the mental disorder acquired have a certain number of common features. The onset of is marked by manifestations of violence, rage, and a state of oh gosh. Hold on a second. No wonder.
Excitation.
Excitation, a process of arousing or stimulating a system, persons, or particle, or resulting state of heightening activity, emotions.
Excitation.
Excitation occurring first in bouts and then becoming continuous. These bouts of excitation sometimes takes the character of impulsive irritability, and sometimes the anxiety and anguish. The illnesses, disturbances coincide with paroxysmismus. I gotta look up this word now. Jesus Christ. I can't look at like Lynn's thing and do like 5 things at once. I'm sorry. Paroxysm, a sudden uncontrolled burst or a sudden intensification of symptoms. Paroxysm, and the same states and the which figure states arise during the acute phases of their mental evolution. These patients are difficult, impulsive, negative, noisy, and then briskly. Oh my gosh! Gotta look at this word now. Christ. This is getting annoying. Oh. Of course, nothing gives me the pronunciation. And of course, I have to watch the video. It's not consistent.
Brusquely.
Brusquely. Why do they use brusquely? An action done in abrupt, blunt, and offhand manner, often so brief that it comes across as rude or impatient. Brusquely. Everything returns to order, and these moments, they are not incapable of gentleness and affection towards their own. The mental deficient is not global, owing to their inattention. The patients appear more diminished than they are. Some have managed to keep working at home and even to hold down an occupation for long periods. Their memories are fairly well conserved. Their dotage can be corrected if it is meticulously monitored. Due to their opposition, indifference, and inattention, at certain moments of their evolution, they risk being taken for patients suffering from dementia paracox. But at no moment can any real mental dissociation, cataleptic. I gotta look at this word. Jeez. Oh, I swear to God. This is a frustrating read right now. I just wish I could pronounce things better. That's all. It'd be nice. Cataleptic, a state, condition, or person characterized by catalepsy. Cataleptic presence or stereotypes be observed in them. The same year, in another book in French, Klein considered psychopathological alterations in the Frederick family. In 1938, Hempel highlighted a case of Frederick ataxia with mental debility. The same year, 2 Polish Jewish people who presented a syndrome of progressive cerebellar ataxia with, oh my gosh, oily Goffrinian were the topic of the publication written by Mary Mullen for the journal in French. Again, and oh my gosh, they're just going over all these people that got these cases. Again, in 1938, Hirsch studied a case of schizophrenia associated with Friedreich ataxia. In 1934, Birkmayer describes a case of evolving dementia praecox in the patient with a case of Friedreich ataxia. In 1940, guess what they did? Some person named Pinton and Typhonia reports 2 cases of Pierre-Marie ataxia with mental disorders displaying slowing down ideation. In 1941, Gonzens situated the mental disorder in a group of hereditary affections in the relations to psychiatric nosology. And oh my gosh, gotta look at this word now. It's not nose. Oh, okay.
Nosology.
Nosology, a branch of medical science dictated to a systematic clarification of disease.
Nosology.
Nosology. In 1943, some person named Sojourns, I don't know how to say his voluminous work with Colette's 188 cases of heterodoxataxia shows that progressive dementia could be found in half of all cases. The symptoms of this progressive dementia are a reduction of attention, slowness, and difficulty in making associations, and poverty in ideas associated with perseveration. Oh my gosh.
Preservation?
Maybe. We'll find out. This is not fun so far. Oh my gosh, I have to. Thank you.
Perseveration.
Perseveration. It's perseveration. A continual involuntary repetition of a thought, behavior, or words, even when the original trigger or context has changed. Weird one.
Perseveration.
Perseveration as the functions of judgment and critique are severely impaired. In 1944, why are we doing this over and over again? Some person named Arif and Kaplan published 4 cases of cerebellar ataxia associated with mental disorders. The year of 1946 was rich in publications. First, V.K.V. Bang studied a case of Friedreich ataxia with progressive dementia. Then there's another book that I cannot say in French. Bruller and Wilder attempted to systematize the problems of mental illness in Friedreich ataxia. With them, the notion of psycho-organic syndrome was born. The author in fact revealed a kinship between the mental disorder encountered in Friedreich ataxia and the epileptic dementia. This syndrome is characterized by the following: exaggerated sentimentality, especially towards religious ideas, the aggregating influence of affectivity over reasoning, and vague and oh my gosh, I gotta look at this word now. God damn it. I don't like this history already. I'm not enjoying this. Oh my gosh, I did it all wrong. I-M-P-R-E. Why is it spacing? Oh, that's why.
Imprecise.
Imprecise ideas which are an expression more or of some general humor than of any concrete and well-defined content. There is a pronounced poverty of ideation. But what essentially strikes one is the exaggerated sentimentality and the precisions of explanation, explanations, along with the tendency towards preservation. Oh my gosh. Perseveration. In this work, the authors attempt to delimit the syndrome, but their observation, while they tally with the description, do not enable any law to be drawn. Schneider, who examined 2 cases of Friedreich ataxia the same year, substantiates Bleller's and Wilder's conclusion. Some person's name, I think it's in German, makes the same observation. In 1947, a paper published in the Journal of something French, of Psychiatric Journal, Hans Conrad, some other Kneffel, and Jos McKinnon revisited the problem from the viewpoint of Bleller and Wilder had adopted. I report both their observations later on. Closer to us, in 1949, Davies presented an analysis of the psychic modification that rises in Friedreich's ataxia. As can be seen in the above, no shortage of attention has been paid to the problem of psychic or character alterations in familial nervous illnesses. I have reviewed 3 cases of spinocerebellar and degeneration. The observation that I had before me did not indicate the presence of any psychic disorders. However, some systematic examination, some disorders firmly objectified in the Rorschach's test did nonetheless come to light. General considerations. I didn't like that. That was not fun to read. That was not fun to read. The most localized visceral diseases may have psychological repercussions. According to Sanquet dissertations, mental disorders can be said to exist in 1/10 of cases. Molleret finds the same proportion in his studies. In his report, Fredericks, as we saw, maintains that the cerebral functions are not impaired. It might be asked, however, whether this rate of incidence does not rather conceal the neurologist's systematic oh my god. Hold on a second. Swear to God, when I'm like reading with Gonzo, not that bad. Today's just a bad day, I guess, huh?
There's a lot of medical words, and as I said, medical words are really hard to pronounce.
Disinterest.
Yeah, got it. Disinterest in the psychiatric symptoms. The mental state of Vincelette or Dupree or Legree's patients clearly did need to be taken into consideration. However, has the intellectual or mental state of diagnosed cases of spinocerebellar and neurodegeneration even been subject to rational interrogation? My intention is not to discover a clearly structured psychiatric disorder in each case. I do not believe that the neurological disorders, even when ascribed in an individual, germplasm can give rise to the determinate psychiatric symptom cluster. Instead, my aim is to show that all neurological impairment damages the personality in some way, and that this open crack within the self becomes all the more sensitive whenever the symptomology of the neurological disorders is severe and irreversible. The most frequently encountered mental disorder seems to be debility. However, this alteration receives a particular meaning, since it moves progressively towards dementia. Sanquet even took this to be a law, and as regards development, adopts the same perspective of Fouquin, who sees in mental degeneracy. Oh my god, I have to look this up. I tried to pronounce them, but I just don't know. It's degenerate, but it has something else. Hold on. Hold on a second. It won't let me say it. Of course, it won't let me say it. Yeah, this is the one they won't let me say, but it's like degenerate. So, the common end of the familial nervous diseases, it being understood, he adds that a few cases in which psychic integrity remains only work to confirm the rule. In any case, the mental debility of these illnesses is easily explained. The paralysis that comes about owing to the clinical development prohibits school attendance. Hence, the intellectual development is naturally made impossible. For that matter, the attempt to connect motor debility with mental debility is an extremely seductive one. The effectivity of these patients is similarly impaired, since they cannot pass through the various stages of the genetics described in psychoanalysis, stages that stand, as is well known, in the close relations with motor functions. Character disorders, irritability, so common in the neurological affection of childhood, are bound to appear. How are we to understand these disorders? We must see them as the consequence of, oh my gosh, impairments. Syphilic. I don't know how to say it. Come on. Oh, of course, it won't let me say it out loud. Fucking hell. And of course, I have to watch this video.
It's a grand slam!
Diencephalic.
Diencephalic. Diencephalic. Which means... referring to diencephalon, a core region of the brain that houses the thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus, and subthalamus. Okay, great. Impairment, that was a question. Must we take the Monacoan perspective and speak of the elliptical repercussions to spatial lesions on personality developments, on the forces of Cormine? Would it not be better to see in them the proof of existence of a arouse of pathology of what Heinrich IY calls the organoclinical gap? There are so many possibilities of interpretations that nevertheless do not manage to satisfy us. And this dissatisfaction arises from the fact that our thinking is scarcely able to liberate itself from the autonomoclinical. We think in terms of organs and focal lesions when we ought to be thinking in terms of functions and disintegration. Our medical view is spatial, where it ought to become more and more temporal. It is exactly what Manokoa and Morgu expressed when they argued for the, oh my gosh, the cryogenous localization. That is to say, one that grants a major role to the temporal integration of phenomenon. And we thereby see emerge once more the dispiriting problems of Cartesian dualism. If the body is one thing and the soul another, neurological affections can have no relations with mental disorder, and it becomes necessary to embrace the argument of contingent coincidence. If by contrast a person is grasping as a whole, as a indissoluble unit, every attack will contain one aspect of physical and the mental. For this point of view, Heinrich E. Y's first psychiatric study is highly significant. It shows clearly that the rhythmic alteration between two equally funkud. Oh my gosh. This is why there's only two of us in here right now. Huh, Joe? And you're already asleep. Joe's asleep. Fecund. Producing or capable of producing offspring, fruits, or fecund. But essentially incomplete paths of research. Bakchet's mistakes, for example, was to have tried to found medicine on the plinth of the focal lesion. Such a conception was also due to giving us a cerebral localization in the extreme, in the domain of interest to us. One argues for the existence of a pathological autonomy, autonomy, and psychosis and neurosis. It is well known that such premises yield in the hands of the French mechanistic school of the previous century. The mind is strained to such an extent that in the presence of hypomorality, that is to say, the disturbance of the individual's social equilibrium, one does not hesitate to speak of cerebellar anthropies. One tries to find an anatomical localization for the disturbances of consciousness. The matter is, it must be admitted, rather difficult. How many times, hold on a second. You're making sure I'm a human being. Thank you for the hearts. Are you there like Joe? Joe must have fell asleep. How many times have we seen without being able to explain it? Mental disorders. I didn't know that. Conjunctions with
okay. I'm back.
multiple sclerosis. What are you going to say? Okay. The patients are often irritable, and in 1 week, exhaust the patients of the nursing staff and their roommates equally, complaining about their poor character. The irritability of these patients is often ignored while the subject disinterests in his or her paralysis is the focus of attention. But after living several days with them, this cheerfulness can be seen as a merely apparent can be seen to be merely apparent. Lastly, I had the occasion to examine a case of multiple sclerosis in the neurology ward in Saint Etienne over the period of a week. The case concerned a former police inspector who is today a total invalid. After 4 days, nurses and patients alike complained about his bad faith in his character. He wanted by no means to be taken for an unintelligent person. During the examination, we asked him if he felt the treatment had done him good. He retorted rather superbly. The great Professor Julian, the patient had been hospitalized in La Sepultura, which is another French word, has understood nothing about my case. So you lot will be unable to grasp it with any clarity. Go on your way. We wanted to proceed to the complete mental examination but as the patient demanded to be discharged, we did not have the chance to do so. Around the same time in the same ward, but this time with a woman with Parkinson's refused to take the paracetamol tablets that the head doctor had prescribed her. Persuasion, I don't know if that's persuasion, having failed, we explained to her that in case of abstinency, I don't know if that's abstinency, I always mess this one up. I didn't know you were in the bathroom, my bad. Oh well. I thought you fell asleep.
No, I'm talking now a while.
Obstinacy. Thank you. We would be obliged to sign her discharge papers. She's literally told us to go to the devil. She literally told us to go to the devil. Remind us that she was at home and that if we ruled the roost, then we only had to return to where we came from. As though it wasn't miserable enough to see genuine French people persecuted by foreigners. No one it is true. No one, it is true, questions the psychic sensitiveness of people with Parkinson's. Patients of people with Parkinson's are well aware of it and avoid anything liable to set off their psychoverbal fury. But how are we to understand the mental modifications that come about in such cases? Are we to describe the effective and character conjecture correlative to muscular contracture? I'm going to make sure I say that right. I'm going to look at this word too. I'm sorry, Lynn, I'm not reading your stuff. I'm still reading. I'm sorry. As you can see today, I'm having problems with words. Contractures, a permanent and prolonged shortening of muscles, tendons, ligaments, or skins that cause joints to become stiff and rigid.
Contractures.
Or else ought we to admit alongside intentions, tremors, and the existence of psychic excitation when in the presence of others. In any case, it seems to me dangerous to claim that a case of Friedreich's ataxia or of any other neurological syndrome pertaining to spinocerebellar and degeneration can develop without affecting psychic integrity. Moreover, by taking into account the two aforementioned cases, I would rather say that in the extreme, every neurological symptom cluster permits the emergency of a particular mental state. And I elaborate on this problem in the last chapter of the present work. It seems to me, and in this I am adopting the most recent conclusions of the French School of Psychiatry, that all organic disorders that bear on one system of relationship results in the reworking of one's psychic equilibrium. The last 30 years have proven extremely fruitful in these regard. Gilb and Goldenstein's studies, or Monroe or Moragu's no less famous ones, have taught us to stop thinking metamerically. Oh my God. That's why there's only two of us in here, because...
Numerically? Are you trying to say numerically?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, if you had the book open, it'd be better. But you can't.
Not right now, no.
Metamerically.
An adverb form of metameric. Metamerically. And in any case, to the research in such matters, a plan of organization and architectural levels that bears no relations with the previous autonomist and localizationist theory. This new orientation simply comes down to omitting the genetic methods in matters of psychiatry. The anatomical cut is ellipsed by the functional plane. Humanity loses its mechanistic character. It is no longer passively moved. It discovers itself as actor. In speaking of a tree, it can be said to be on the hill, at the bottom of a valley, of an ashtray. It can be on the table. To express a fact is seen to be sufficient. And to be sure, in accordance with the seasons, the tree will be drab in winter and heavy and covered with leaves in spring. Yet who does not see that at no point does the idea of relation arise? With a human being, the fact loses all stability. At issue, it is no longer one fact, but a mosaic of facts. A human being always exists in the process of he or she is here with other humans, and in the sense alterity. Let's make sure if that word's correct.
Alterity.
I did it right. The state of being, others, and fundamentally different. Alterity is a I gotta look at this word too. I know the word, I just can't say it. Reiterated perspective of his or her actions. This means that the human being, as any object of study, demands a multidimensional investigation. A key advance of psychoanalysis was previously to have unveiled this side of personality, since called the unconscious. From this fact, the three perspectives from which Adler, Jung, and Freud considered the drama of ill individuals, for far from being limiting, indicates the alternation of primary motivations. For at the basis of all three, one rediscovers that spasm of affectivity referred to as the complex. The human being ceases to be a phenomenon from the moment that he or she encounters the other's face. For the other reveals me to myself, and psychoanalysis, by proposing to reintegrate the mad individual within the group, establishes itself as the science of the collective par excellence. This means that the sane human being is a social human being, or else that the measure of the sane human being, psychologically speaking, will be his or her more or less perfect interrogation into the gotta look up this other word. I don't know what it means. It's probably a French word. You know, if you're going to like put this in English, then do the French words in English, please. Not just, or like, you know, do the French word and then like tell me what it means, you know?
Right. Hey, Bam. Good to see you. But I definitely agree that if they're going to translate a book, they should translate even the French magazine's names. At least put the translated version next to the French version.
Yeah. Bam thinks us we're still reading. Thank you, Bam. I know I said it. All right. Socius. May I be forgiven for noting these self-evidence, which have seemingly nothing to do with my subject. We will see that the 4 cases of spinocerebellar, of hero degeneration, reported in this chapter, presents a partial or total collapse of what is readily called the social constants of a personality. I said earlier that for his fellow, the human being represents the latency of action. Whenever we speak of action, we also speak about gestures, and this refers us to gestures. Oh my gosh. Autonomo physiological conditions. I have no idea what ANTOME means. They're killing me. Killing me. What is autonomo? It's a prefix. Okay. So it's, yeah, okay. It is thus difficult to admit that a description ending in deficits in the stock of relationship would nonetheless leave a consciousness normal. In other words, in other terms, a young man of 18 seeing the progressive limitations of his field of action cannot conserve an inact psyche. I would have liked to show the step-by-step progress of this limitation, which is first biological, then psychic, and lastly metaphysical. It would be interesting to show, for example, the profound reasons for the mysticism of those who become paralyzed in childhood. Moreover, to state things are more truly, we might rather say, belief in occult powers. If this belief dons the guise of mysticism, we ought to see it as only one modality. Is that modality? That's not modality. Hold on. I'm trying. This is your choice. You know that, right?
Yes.
Modality.
Yeah, I was right. Modality means the particular way in which something exists, is experienced, or is done. Modality of belief with magical motivation. A paralyzed person above all, and I believe this to be important, if the cause of his paralysis is not clear. Incidents, oh my gosh, pyelomeningitis. Just make sure I'm saying that one right too. Why'd you pick this book? This book's killing me.
Because it's better that we learn something than it is that we just review something when I like learning.
What we've been learning from the other books. What do you, I don't understand.
I don't know why I picked this one. I picked this one because it was a France Fanon book I haven't read yet.
Yeah.
That's rare. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. There you go. I like that. Poliomyelitis. What the fuck, man? Jesus Christ. And that is a highly infectious disease caused by the poliovirus. This person is as an individual biologically, physically, and metaphysically shrunken. Were my arguments to be turned back against me, it might be objected that this psychic limitation is only the result of inadequate intellectual development. I would accept this criticism on conditions that I am granted the fact that unexplainable biophysical limitations permit the instillment of the tendencies to believe in the unexplainable. I had the occasion to observe a young woman who, from the age of 13, suffered from extremely violent migraines. After eliminating the possible, and another word I have to look up, AET. Etiology, the study of causation or the origination of something. Etiology, not ideology. Etiology. I learned that the patient's mother had the same affection. Equipped with the etiological diagnostic, the young woman was informed that her migraines were hereditary. She then asked me what hereditary meant, and I had the impression that throughout the explanation, which served for scientific scientificacy, this woman, unable to understand, accepted a fact that flew right by her. Shall I make it implicit? Her attitude was not without resignation. Heredity for the biologist is not the same as it is for the shopkeeper. For the former, heritage entails the application of a strict law. For the latter, it is the bad deal or bad luck. Similarly, the attitude of the person suffering from familial spastic paraplegia or from Friedreich ataxia will be fundamentally different to someone who has had both legs amputated. The former never understood what happened to him. The latter knows he has had an incident. He has witnessed the surgeon uncertainly and then the surgeon striking, at last, the decision between the one and the other. There is no common measure. I now discuss the results of the Rochacher test, to which I submitted some cases of spinocerebellar or degeneration, and something in French. 47-year-old hospitalized 3-year-old in the neurological ward of Hospital Bonnevie, I can't say these, for spastic paraplegia. Maternal grandmother, paraplegic. Mother, paraplegic. Her sister, who died from bronchial, oh my gosh, what's that word? Pneumonia. Similarly presented a paraplegic syndrome. For 10 years, the patient has presented disorders typical of the spastic paraplegia series. Oh my gosh, it was fun. I'm being sarcastic. Oh my gosh, am I supposed to read this? Rush test of Mr. Hahn, 18 years age, CPD. The patient went to school until the age of 14. She belongs to a family with 3 children. A brother of 18 years of age presents some Gantt disorder for about 1 year, strongly indicating the possibilities of an onset Friedreich ataxia. Extremely poverty in the replies, a complete absence of originality. Such are the conclusions that can be drawn from each of these tests. The third test, on contrary, illustrated a particular richness of the replies. This shows the impossibility of formulating a law of matter in familial nervous illness. Here we are reminded of Van Bogart, who said, "We can only report clinical observation. We cannot go beyond them." The test, 24 years of age, typical Friedreich ataxia, major cerebellar disorders, has had clear, pronounced speech disorders since age 19. Primordial disorders, clubfoot, very similar education, attending schools until 10 years of age, did not continue self-studied shepherd. Okay. More of this. At one point, can the neurological disease be suspected of triggering psychic alterations? At what point can it be said that the thought process are disrupted? At what point can it be claimed that the domain of thought is undergoing the disruption of which the determined neurological symptoms clusters can be held responsible? Upon reflection, it seems that 2 equally determinate aspects might be able to help with the diagnostic. I have in mind here the ego aspect of social aspects. The best symbology of each of these aspects of daily life takes the following form. I feel odd. I find others odd. This defines the original influence of personality disorders. Both terms will clearly come to have an rhythm inscribed between them. I feel odd. Other people can only confirm me in my mutation, in my difference, and communion will come to be altered by it. If I find others odd, This observation can confirm my difference, and my communion will come to be altered by it. Bolstered by these two arguments, child psychiatry is quite quick to diagnose behavioral disorders in adolescents. It seems to me that every psychiatric examination must ultimately boil down to these two observations: alterations of the ego, alterations of relations between the ego and the world. The three patients to whom I gave the Rotech test, and with whom I conversed at length unequivocally, presented disorders concerning these two constants: a collapse of family relations and an ignorance of affective bonds, or when some affectivity exists, it was found to be extremely liable, resolutely polymorphous. Ultimately, the wild person is someone who can no longer find his place among people. Either he feels superior to them, or he feels unworthy of entering the category of a human. In both cases, he feels he is different to them. Some observations. I shall report. What time is it? All right. I shall report 4 cases of spinocerebellar or degeneration with mental disorders. 1. Frederick ataxia. Julio Oscar Trellis, AD, July, age 41, was placed in Santa Ana with the following reports. Miss Adul Jewel, hospitalized by the Paul Brasso Hospice, suffers mental disorders characterized by uncoordinated agitation, cries, insomnia, persistence, and some persecutor type delusions ideas. The patient also has Frederick ataxia. As a result, I considered that being a danger to herself and to others, she ought to be hospitalized in an establishment operating in accordance with the law of 1838. This other person, January 1929, signed D.G. Desiri. Immediate assessment, 20 January 1929, is suffering from, oh my gosh, quadriplegia through Frederick ataxia, muddled ideas of persecution, confined to bed, not to be discharged, anti-any asylum, signed Dr. Marine, 15 days assessment, Frederick ataxia, character disorder, fit and rage, scream, all of which disturbs the other patients, resistance to treatments, not to be discharged, Santi-N Asylum, signed Dr. Tronell. The family history provides no indication as the patient is an only daughter, and the mother died young. None of her 4 maternal uncles and aunts suffer from the affection. The personal history is typical: a normal birth in early childhood. Around 6 years of age, she was treated for, oh my gosh, I don't know this word. Another medical term. This is killing me. Oh yeah, that was K. Y. PHOSCOLIOSIS. Please let me say it. Oh, of course you're not gonna let me say it, you bastards.
Kyphoscoliosis.
Kyphoscoliosis
Kyphoscoliosis.
and balance disturbances gradually began emerging clearly only around 17 years of age, at which time the illness took hold, progressively unfolding the full classical picture of Frederick ataxia, hence her admission to Ivory Hospice, since there in 1926, M. Charles Folks examines her. He observes a typical quadriplegic form of Frederick ataxia, together with cerebellar, primordial, sensoral, deep, trophic, club foot, that one word,
Kyphoscoliosis.
and psychic disorder. These latter irritability, fits, tendencies of interpretation, agitation, made her intolerable in the ward, and indeed all her neighbors hated her. The accounted, lastly, for her first confinement. Her assessment was as follows. First entry, I, the undersigned full professor of the faculty, Doctor of Ivory Hospice, clarified that Miss Ad 4th, July 41 years of age, who suffers from Friedreich ataxia, presents a state of psychic and motor excitation characterized by vociferation. I don't know this word. You're killing me, Joe. You're killing me. I'm trying to be funny, but you're not there. Come on. Of course not. And of course I have to watch a fucking video.
Vociferation.
Vociferation. A vehement, noisy outcry or an act of shouting loudly and insistently. By threats that disturb the peace and quiet of other patients in the room, and that required replacement of a special service. Charles Fuchs, 6 June 1928. This was followed by an immediate assessment on 7th June 1928, according to which she suffered from confused excitation and quadriplegia of the Hin-Madin type, bedridden, not to be discharged, Santa Ana Asylum, signed Dr. Marine. The patient was placed at Vaucluse, from which her family took her and had her admitted to Paul Barroso Hospice, where she was treated in don't say the word ward, but owing to the mental and character disorder she presented, she could not be kept there and had to be placed in an asylum. The patient remained in M. Tunnel's unit for 21 months. Her neurological picture only intensified. She never willingly allowed herself to be examined, did not reply to questions or else hurled insults with vehemence and hostility. Leave me. You don't understand anything about my illness. Step back, otherwise I will punch you. If one insisted, and the reply was generally, I will not answer you. Besides, I am deaf. Not true. I hear nothing. You are only good for nothing, sending me to the wild house without examination. Then she becomes ironic. That's a nice report you've done. You can write whatever you like. M. Trinnell further noticed that, as far as one could see, the mental basis has impaired, the self-criticism diminished, but that this patient was remarkable on the account of her character disorder. Her violent fit of anger, her extreme irritability. She sometimes expressed ideas of persecution. People were annoyed with her neighbors hated her, and so on. But these delusional ideas displayed no coherent systemization. Lastly, it is notable that during her last months, she registered a drop of visual acuity and complained of not seeing well. As we see, the psychiatric semology, properly speaking, is thin. The patient has some ideas of persecution. We find no coherent illusion, though, and essentially only a confusional state, in one of psychomotor excitations. I think I'm going to stop there, and we'll do the number 2 later. I think I'm going to stop here.
It was a good read. You did really good. I
It was
thought
not a good read.
You looked
Not
up
a good
the
read.
words. You looked up the words you were willing to learn. It was a good read.
All we're doing
Bunch of-
is listening to like these reports right now. That's all we're doing right now. It's all right.
What's the page?
Hold on, let me go back up. 229. You're just like, oh my gosh. These are just like, I wonder if these are just reports of people in, hold on, what's this one? A case of delusion in the possession of the hysterical structure. Okay.
Yeah, these are his notes that he chose.
You're really fascinated by this stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Did you learn anything?
I learned that last lady probably shouldn't be in there. She seemed real angry about a lot of stuff, and I don't blame her. They didn't even
Yeah.
take the report when they locked her up.
Could you please be more detailed? I don't know. I did so many people.
The last lady you spoke of.
What was her problem?
She was. They said she had the slowing of speech and the mental disorders, but her mental disorders was the fact that she was a smart mouth, and that they didn't even do an examination when they brought her in, and she was pissed about it, and probably her husband had her committed against her will.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know that yet, but we'll find out. We'll find out more about this. But no, I need to. I'm getting kind of frustrated after like I get into a flow and start understanding what I'm reading, and then all of a sudden I have to look up a word and I lose everything, and I have to get back into the flow and understand what I'm reading, and then I lose it again because I have to look up another word. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes, and I would like to ask Lynn, since it's just me and Lynn in here. Nobody else is in here, so Lynn, don't come out of yes or no. But maybe tomorrow, you plan on coming up and helping us with some medical words?
If they don't feel comfortable doing it, don't force them to do it. But yeah, after this book, like, cause this book, you know how long this book is?
Yes.
After this book, we're going back into 700 pages still.
Still. Yep. All right, Lynn, thank you.
All right. Well, since at least one person is enjoying this, I enjoyed a little bit of it, but since one person is enjoying it and you made the decision, we're going to read it through. But I'm going to pick, like, I think I'm going to do capitalism and slavery, or slavery. I can't remember which way it goes. And I don't know what else I might do. You know, so we'll find out. I'll look at what I got to do here soon. You know.
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
I got something for you if you want to come get it real quick, and then I'll be headed to bed probably.
All right. Well, all right, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for showing up.
Good night, me.